Hello, welcome to the podcast. This is Bristol Real. I'm Val.
I'm Jerome.
And I'm Tom. And today we spoke to Sivani Balachandran, who's a civil engineering student at the University of Bristol and who recently participated in the South Asian category of BBC's Young Dancer 2015.
We talked to Sivani about what it's like to be on TV, how she felt about the entire experience, how she grew up learning to dance and what influence her mother had upon her dancing. We also talked about how Hindu mythology ties in to the dancing itself. So that was actually really interesting. We got into the story of Rama and Sita, and she gave us a good synopsis of that, which I'm sure you'll enjoy.
Yeah, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe as we're a new podcast, and your support really does go a long way. If you're feeling especially generous, you can even leave us a review on iTunes. Nothing less than 5 stars, of course. But yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Here's Sivani. Hi, so welcome to the podcast. Today we're sitting with Sivani Balachandran, if that's pronounced right. Thanks for joining us on the show.
No problem.
And so recently you were on the BBC Young Dancer.
Yeah.
To compete. How did that work? How did you get involved in that?
So it started off with just sending off a DVD into the show, and I wasn't going to apply really. My teacher she called up my parents. First she asked me. I was like quite reluctant, and then she called up my parents, and then was like, "You got to get her to apply." So they said, "Just send her a DVD," and then I did.
So you had to record this DVD, did you?
I already had like stuff that I'd done before.
Oh, right,
recording
okay.
on DVDs. So yeah.
And this was for the BBC South Asian
South
Dance
Asian
Finals,
category,
Young
yeah.
Dancer, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
1825, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, 16 to 20.
16
Yeah.
to 20, okay then.
Very young.
Okay, yeah. Is this the first time that competition's run?
Yeah, that's why I hadn't heard of it, so I didn't really
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
it
yeah.
involved. I don't think anyone really knew.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
yeah.
when they first mentioned it, were you like, no?
Well, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, so I kind of just said no because I didn't really understand what it was anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose because it was just a DVD thing, I just sent it off. Thought, why not?
You already had it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how many people actually applied?
No idea. Absolutely none.
Yeah. It usually says that in the intro to things.
Yeah.
25 million people applied.
Yeah, but I think because it was just the first time, there probably weren't that many people.
Yeah.
So.
How did you
Yeah.
feel when you found out that you were going to be on the show?
It's weird because it was kind of like a roll-on effect. So obviously I got through to the first round. So it was kind of a gradual thing. There wasn't like a sudden moment.
Okay, yeah.
So they were filming every step, so it was very gradual. So there wasn't a kind of moment. Where
So there's that one moment you're performing locally, and then the next moment you're on national television.
Yeah,
Or
kind
did
of.
they? How did they do it before? Did you just compete in London, or did you compete? How did it work?
So they picked people from the DVDs.
Yeah.
I think they picked 12, and then there was a round in Birmingham
Mm-hmm.
where those 12 had to compete to be the 5 that performed in the final. That's on telly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay then.
Cool. So how long have you actually been doing Indian dancing, and how did it start? Like, what is the origin behind you doing it?
So my mum's a music teacher, and she kind of dropped me off at dance classes when I was pretty young, when I was about 5, 6. And then, I never really liked it, but I made loads of friends, and it kind of, I went for my friends really, and then it just sort of became a part of me gradually. Yeah.
Did your dance teacher obviously thought you were particularly good?
Yeah.
Like, was there a point when you started to realise that you were, or were you quite humble about it? Because imagine within the dance troupe, you must have been good within the people at the club.
Yeah.
Did you think of yourself that way?
No. I think it's really only in the past few years that I've sort of realised that I'm actually pretty decent at dance, to be honest. Yeah.
Your flatmates were telling us that you dance around here.
Yeah.
And then on the video too, actually on that BBC episode, you said that you dance every morning. Do you still do that
In
since
this
you
room?
moved to Bristol?
Yeah, well, I had been, but obviously exam season now. So
Oh yeah. So
we cut down to weekends, but yeah.
Yeah.
are you looking forward to anything else to do with it? So are you competing in more competitions, or are you doing anything?
I'm doing more
productions?
performances over the summer
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But yeah, no big things.
Is that in London
Yeah.
or?
I'm going to Sri Lanka and doing a few performances there.
Oh wow.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
I think the university's asked me to do one on the 7th of June.
Mhm.
Wow.
Anson Rooms.
So do you think you're like a name now within the Indian dancing community? Like, if they need a
Top
dancer,
3
they'll say
worldwide, yeah.
Sivani Balachandran.
That
And
would be
it's like,
cool.
yeah.
But maybe someday, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have some sort of ambition to kind of keep going with getting better and improving.
Yeah.
Cool. It's going to be tricky
Definitely.
alongside civil engineering. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
worth
But I guess
doing.
everyone has hobbies, so it's just
Definitely.
something that'll keep up, definitely.
Yeah, that's quite impressive actually. The fact that you're both you're studying to be a civil engineer and you're also exceptionally good at dancing. How do you reconcile the two? What is it that makes you why do you like civil engineering and why do you like dancing? Is it for the same sort of mindset or?
No, if anything, it's because they're so different.
Yeah.
Like, dancing is kind of a release from that kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
almost an escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you enjoy
Which is
civil
nice.
engineering then?
Yeah.
Okay then.
Absolutely.
Why did you choose to study it?
Well, I was always really good at physics and maths, and then I always found physics a bit sort of abstract, and I kind of wanted to apply it, and yeah, and then civil
I think
engineering
that's
kind of
probably
stood out.
what everyone
Yeah.
of us will
Yeah,
say.
it's just sort of,
Maths,
I
civil
can't
engineering. Yeah.
really relate to physics. I'd probably drive myself insane, and yeah, I'm really enjoying
It probably helps having this release from it occasionally, because I personally get so bogged down in
Yeah.
it when I'm working on maths for a whole
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
Just get up and just pop some moves
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the dances that you did? You did 2 dances on the show. One of them was the 3-speed one.
Yeah,
That was really cool.
Yeah.
It just got faster and faster as you
Yeah.
went on. You said that was technically difficult.
Yeah.
Why was that?
Obviously, just the timings and the rhythms are quite intricate, and you have to be really on the ball with the music and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Has it got a particular this is quite does it have a particular time signature to it that you can kind of lock on, because it's not necessarily got like a kick drum or whatever that you lock
Yeah.
onto? Are
It's
you
connected to like the different because there's also different types of dancing in India, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is it kind of different patterns in different areas?
I think they're actually quite similar, if anything, in different areas. Yeah, it's just the instrumentation's different, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have like a rich, diverse culture of musicians in India, and
Yeah,
each
yeah.
different village or province have their own particular instruments? So for example, the veena,
Yeah.
where's that from in India?
South India.
Okay.
Whereas like sitar is from up north,
hmm
and yeah.
And that's
Quite
directly influenced the dancing, so is it just the instrumentation, or is it the rhythms and what they sing about? Actually, what do they sing about?
Yeah,
Sorry, that's something I wanted to mention,
Yeah.
and Val mentioned it earlier too.
So it depends on the piece, but so my first piece, which was the rhythm-based one, it's literally just rhythmic syllables, so there's no meaning behind it. Whereas the second piece was a sort of devotional piece, so it was a sort of prayer, and it was the goddess who's the husband of Lord Shiva, and it was in praise of her. But you get kind of devotional pieces based on any god. You can get Krishna, Rama and Sita, and you can get loads of different stories as well. So it's not just devotional. There are love stories, stories of war. You can get loads of different kinds of stories and dances.
Did the culture kind of originate from the religion?
Yeah,
the whole
I think so.
dancing thing,
Yeah.
has it kind of spread out from that since, like, recently? Or is it still very much kind of a religious thing that you would define it as?
It's interesting because I think I'm not religious, but I think you definitely have to be kind of spiritual, I think, because there's always going to be that sort of religious aspect, but you don't have to believe in the religion. Like, you can still tell the stories and appreciate the stories without being religious, because they are just stories ultimately.
Yeah.
And as long as you understand the sort of emotion behind them.
Yeah. You think that's
That's
quite
what's
important?
important.
You say you'd have to kind of understand them. You couldn't just perform the actions.
Yeah,
and
no,
get the
because you
same
have to
result.
believe it yourself, and in order for the audience, to believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have to really put across emotions. It's
Exactly,
almost like
yeah.
kind of it is exaggerated, isn't it? Kind of the emotions you put across.
Yeah.
It's like, when you're doing that, are you trying to kind of create those emotions inside of you, or are you like, okay, I just need to turn my mouth up at this point. I need
Yeah,
to...
no, you feel it.
Yeah.
You're there. You're in it. Yeah, completely.
Wow. Like, yeah. I wonder if that's a particular thing about Indian dancing, because it is so expressive. I don't know.
It is actually. This is something I noticed when you were dancing.
Yeah.
You're smiling,
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
incredibly
expressions,
different to
yeah.
European dancing,
Yeah.
where
Well,
it's
say
very
ballet, you're
straight
pouting
face.
the
Yeah.
whole time.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that they're so much more expressive in at least their facial motions? And I think in their dancing too, it's a lot less. I don't think forced is the right word, but it's sort of similar.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
I know what you mean.
What do you think of that? Why do you think it is that your Indian dancers are smiling, whereas your European ones?
I have absolutely no
face.
idea. You'd probably have to go back centuries to find that out, to be honest.
Okay.
But
Is it something they encourage, or is it just happens like that? Maybe the meat type of
well,
music.
it's not discouraged. So some of the other dancers didn't smile as much. I don't know. Just
Yeah.
I did, I think. But yeah, I don't know. No one's ever told me not to.
Yeah.
So-
Well, if it makes you
That's a fair
feel,
point,
yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of, it seems to suggest it makes you feel happier inside.
Yeah.
Like people say, like if you smile, you feel happier.
Yeah, exactly.
You're probably gonna feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a lot of variation
Yeah.
between people.
Mm.
Like, how do people actually vary, and how much can you vary whilst it's still being within the category?
Yeah, that's the thing. So some of the dancers were being quite contemporary in their approach to it,
Yeah.
and
Are you a bit bitter about that? Because I think the one who got through, she
yeah,
was crying.
Yeah. Well, no, because I think everyone was sort of true to themselves and what they wanted to show and what they took from the dance. So it just depends what they wanted for the show. Really, it didn't say anything about the dancers and who was better.
Yeah. So how would you say you could what is the boundary where it's no longer valid? Is there a certain motifs that have to be within an Indian dance in order for it to work, or a Southeast Asian one?
I don't think so.
So the common factor is what?
I think a lot of the rhythm-based stuff. So the sort of plie type, the sitting and the arms that you see, and the hand gestures. I think you have to keep a lot of that.
Mm.
But I think beyond that, there isn't much that would need to stay for it to be.
Really? Yeah,
Within
it's
the same.
probably a lot more flexible than some of the forms of
Yeah.
dance. Then. So I think ballet, if you do your toe in the wrong way, you're screwed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried other forms of dance?
I haven't. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What, do you never been interested, or?
I don't know. I've only just sort of realised that I'm good at this. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
Fair enough.
see where we go from
Yeah.
here.
I wonder how transferable the skills are. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to have the knowledge of the rhythm, but the
Yeah.
emotions are completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the fitness? Is it physically
It looks-
demanding?
it
Do you
looks
find-
knackering.
Are,
Yeah.
Are you exhausted at the end of
Yeah.
it? Mm.
But yeah, you sort of build it up, don't you? It's like going to the gym every day. You just build up your stamina.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the hardest aspect of it?
For me, it's the choreography because I've never really done that before. That's why I had to go to my teacher for a lot of the help. I never really understand how people choreograph dances. I'm still not really.
Okay, so you've had to do some of it yourself.
I didn't know because
Okay.
that was my
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I think a lot of the other girls were a lot better because they knew what they were best at and they could choreograph their dances to
Mm.
their own sort of style. Yeah.
So in order to choreograph, you need a plot, do you? Or not necessarily. I suppose you said there was one where it didn't really have any meaning.
Yeah.
But they have a kind of they
A
have
vision.
a journey.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's a common you said it was kind of there's general themes to it, aren't there? There's
Yeah.
religion, there's war. How would a war one work? You're
Well,
not
as in
smarter than
within religion, so like there's stories of war within
that. Okay.
like Hindu mythology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What facial expression would you pull in that?
As in you'll be telling the story, and so you'll probably be showing it like people with weapons and stuff.
Okay.
You'll be
So
depicting.
you do a very straight face or a grim
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't just be. I'm sure you wouldn't be grinning at this
Wow.
point.
That's much more engaging, isn't it? It's very difficult to take something from this interpretive dance. Sorry, that was an absolute tangent. Okay, moving on. Yeah.
We like tangents.
Yeah.
So as the TV program worked, what was the process involved? What did you spend a lot of time backstage getting instructions from people?
Yeah.
You don't see it's like an iceberg, I suppose. You see a tiny proportion
Yeah,
of what actually
yeah.
goes on.
Yeah, it was so well organised. Unbelievable number of stuff behind the scenes. It felt like there's a person in every corner telling you where to go, basically.
How long were
crazy.
you involved for it? From the when you sent off your tape to when you
When
it.
did I send off my tape? I think it was like October, and then the second round was in December. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to go to was this in London, in the film studios in London, or was this a Birmingham one?
So December was Birmingham, and then went to London for a workshop in like February, and then the final was like a month ago. No, it wasn't. I don't remember. I've lost track of time. Yeah.
I know it aired last week.
Yeah, it was on.
Yeah.
yeah.
Very recent. Yeah. Did all your flat come around to watch it? Then?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Oh,
yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah. Well, they came to watch one of the performances.
Yeah.
Did that make it harder or easier?
Or did you just not care?
Yeah.
I kind of
It
try
cut to
not
them
to.
at one point, I think.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think about who's in the audience really.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask this actually. When you said in the interview that you, and everyone says this, like,
Yeah.
that you feel completely different,
Yeah.
you don't feel shy anymore when you perform.
Yeah.
Could you actually describe that? Do you feel completely, you're only within the boundary of your own skin and nothing else is happening outside? Or do you just feel like, oh, there's so many people watching it, but I like it? Do you not? Because people say they don't think about the audience.
Yeah, do you go into that
I
sort
just
of
feel like a
flow
different
state?
person. That's the thing. I don't feel like me.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's weird. I can't describe it.
The flow state.
Sorry?
The flow state.
Yeah.
That's what people describe
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
Mm.
Sort of like
Yeah.
out of body where you don't really have control. You're just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Is that the only time when you actually get that?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
It's interesting. Like some people can get it. People get it in all sorts of different ways, but it's generally when you're performing. It doesn't have. Does it have to be a physical activity?
Yeah. Like artists go into their flow state and they're doing their paintings and things like that.
Yeah.
I think musicians would as well.
Yeah, musicians as well. It's just, I think it's to do with passion and just.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Would you say it's a state of complete focus to the point where you don't actually realise you're focusing? You say nothing's in your mind, everything else outside the performance.
This must be
isn't
so
there.
hard to describe.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah. Sorry to like.
Yeah, no.
Like, talk about it. It's just an interesting state.
Yeah. Do you ever find yourself not managing to get into that state?
Sometimes when I'm performing as a group, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I imagine it kind of comes with self-consciousness. You start
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
very much about what you're
Yeah,
doing.
exactly. Yeah.
And it's difficult to get out of that.
Yeah.
So in the actual performances, you manage to get there.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's funny because the rehearsals, we had 2 rehearsals before the actual performance, and I was so much worse than I was for the actual thing. Yeah, I think because all the staff were all there, and my mentor was there, and it was just really overwhelming. But
So
yeah.
what did the mentoring involve? Is this a mentor you've had long term?
No. So I met her. She judged the first round, and then we had a workshop with her for like 2 hours, and that was it. But those 2 hours were unbelievable. Because she's like a professional dancer, and it was I've learnt so much in those 2 hours. It's crazy.
What be like learning what? Learning how to hold yourself? Or?
Yeah. All of that posture and how to sit properly, and the moves and how to incredible.
Did you say how to sit properly?
Yeah. So it was like like plie stuff that ballet dancers do type thing.
Oh,
like
okay, yeah. What?
with
So
the
you're
legs.
talking like? Wait, no. Let's give us.
They're
Sorry,
just-
give us a demonstration. This is my ignorance here.
This is why we need
I'm
videos.
thinking like a ski position kind of thing here.
Yeah,
Is that right?
but like
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
that.
Just clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, and like
When you start, where do you start with Indian dancing? Where if I wanted, okay, I want to do Indian dancing.
Yeah.
How do I start? What do I do first?
so you'd start with the feet and the legs. So the leg thing, and then you'll do like exercises. Like there's like a set thing you do like with rhythms and with your feet, and then you'd move on to the hand gestures and adding that in. So you wouldn't get to the storytelling until quite late on.
Okay.
You'll probably need like a year of that just to.
Right. So it starts quite mechanical.
Yeah.
And then
no,
you get
completely.
the kind of the story behind it.
Yeah. Afterwards, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Do you stay engaged with Indian culture beyond just dancing? So, say the mythology. Do you read books on Indian mythology, or?
No, I think dance is kind of my way of really understanding that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really need to.
Yeah, that's your only way of connecting with it.
Yeah.
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 You think
Okay.
that's one of the reasons why you do the dance? I know you just enjoy it
Yeah,
for the sake
I think
of
so.
it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think if someone, obviously you have some Indian heritage to you, do you
Yeah.
reckon it would be more difficult for me to start? Obviously, there's nothing actually spiritual going, like, necessarily, you don't believe there's anything spiritual going on, but do you reckon it's necessarily easier for you because you've experienced that culture more to actually engage with the dancing?
No, because I know people that aren't Indian or have any Indian roots. Like, my teacher has quite a lot of Italian students who come and learn from her. But that's what I was saying. They're kind of spiritual, so they can appreciate it. And
It's more
appreciate
about
the
the
stories
meaning
behind it.
than
Yeah,
the-
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that looks, straight away from watching it, I think the big difference to all the other types of dancing is the way you dress.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're not
Like
mentioning this
how complicated is it to?
It's not actually that complicated. It's just very exaggerated, so it looks complicated, but it isn't.
Right.
So like we just do everything really big, so the eyeliner is really thick. It's just so you can see your facial expressions and see what you're doing.
Yeah.
So like we paint our fingers so that you can see what you're doing with your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
stuff
has
like
meaning,
that.
doesn't it? Hand positions have meaning.
Yeah.
So
What are the meanings of the various ones?
Yeah. Is it almost like a sign language type thing?
Kind of, but it's more obvious what everything means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So like that would be flower, which is kind of, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But you could also use it to mean like beautiful, like you'd go like that, and so you'd use your face as well.
Okay.
So yeah, the meanings are a lot more obvious than you think.
So does every move have meaning, or is some just purely like aesthetic kind of? Well,
Yeah. So like my first dance was, it didn't have any meaning behind it. It was just like rhythm based, just movement. Whereas the second was using hand gestures and stuff, and it was telling a story.
What's harder? Which of the two is harder? Because you can't really engage. You say you can't really engage with the meaning of it. That might does that make it easier or harder to actually perform properly?
Well, it depends who you are, but I personally find it more difficult with the rhythm-based side of it, just because you have to build up your stamina and all of that stuff. But yeah, it depends.
You said they're based on stories.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I'm sure there's a load of
Yeah.
stories, but is it hard to? Because you assume you can't make your own stories up. You have to use ones that are already.
Some people actually do now. So there's like people can just do like generic stories. Like one of my friends does one on like a mother and daughter, just a story about a mother and her daughter.
So do you
And
see
it's
it?
quite
Do
nice.
you often see people kind of performing the same thing?
Sometimes, yeah, not often, because usually it's like teachers choreograph their own stuff, and yeah, there's a lot. Of
So there's not like famous dances. As such.
There are
Like,
famous
is it-
songs that people dance to,
Okay.
and the dances are usually similar, but yeah.
Yeah, because I suppose like there's ballets. There's a certain ballet that you have to perform.
Yeah.
I know we always go back to ballet, but
Yeah.
yeah, you have to perform in that exact same way.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more freedom with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how, because the winner of this, the Indian one, went on to compete against what sort of dances? A huge variety. Isn't
Yeah.
It? How do you compare that?
Yeah.
Did they tell you how?
It
they
must
were
be
gonna
like
do it?
personal preference, isn't it?
Yeah, I
To judge
suppose,
it,
yeah.
Which is a bit difficult.
Yeah, I have no
Yeah.
idea how they're going to do it.
Yeah. How did they compare you actually? Did they give you like a marking sheet? Like
Yeah.
get
I think
your
they
dance?
did, but I think ultimately it came down to the winner. I think she was just more physically able than the rest of us. I think.
What did you do?
So the winner of our category,
Mhm.
yeah, she what did she do? She did Kathak, so she did a lot of like spinning, and she was just incredible. And she wants to be a dancer for a living, so she's like
Yeah.
devoted her time. She goes to the gym every day. She's sorted. Yeah.
Yeah. What sort of other people
Crazy.
were there? So there was this one who's really fully
Yeah.
committed to dancing.
Yeah.
There's you who does engineering.
Yeah.
Who else was involved?
One other, she's studying like sport and exercise or something, so she's pretty dedicated to dance.
That probably helps.
Yeah. Yeah, the two others are off to university this year. I don't know what they're doing, but yeah.
Hmm.
Have you stayed in touch with any of them?
Yeah, we're all in touch. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you from all over the place then?
Yeah.
Cool. How? Yeah. Who was the young? Was there someone who was 16?
No, I think the two youngest were in year 13.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think someone in your flat mentioned that they created a story for one of them that she was torn between dancing and something else.
Oh, dentistry, yeah.
Yeah, dentistry. Yeah.
Because she talks about herself as the dancing
Did
dentist.
they? I'm not sure if you're allowed to say this, but did they completely make something up for you that wasn't true in order to? Because on the X Factor they create sob stories and
Yeah.
this guy's, oh my god, he's been through such a tough life. Like, did they do that with you? What was
No,
your
I don't
kind
think
of
so.
selling point?
An ex-RAF pilot
Yeah.
who had trouble with steroids for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Before
No, I don't think they
breaking up.
made anything up. They just kind of exaggerate, I think.
Yeah. So
But-
what was your selling point?
The engineering, obviously, and I think also that I'm shy.
Yeah.
They definitely...
So they kind of played on that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like she can't speak to people
Yeah.
if she doesn't dance
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah. I didn't realise that would become a thing, but yeah.
Did that ever bother you that they would try and dramatise your life like that? Or you said, before we started talking actually, you were talking about how they interviewed you and you came out saying things that you weren't quite I wouldn't say sure about, but
Yeah.
you felt odd about.
Yeah.
What do you think of that technique? Do you think, did that annoy you?
I just felt a bit uncomfortable. It didn't annoy me because everything I said was from me. It wasn't like they told me what to say, which was good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But they'd sort of be like, oh, elaborate on that. And then I'd end up kind of exaggerating it myself, which is weird. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I got interviewed for this one show thing yesterday, and they said you have to restate the question in your answer. I don't know if they asked you that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really awkward.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, what do you think was the best thing about the project? It was like,
The best thing.
it's really awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the whole you just totally clog up when you re-say the same. I don't know if you had to do this, like
Yeah.
just re-say like essentially to the word what you just said.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You're definitely not in a flow state at that point. You're
Yeah.
very, you're very self-conscious
yeah.
about what you're saying.
Going back to the culture of it, not many. So, is there a difference in like the percentage of people who, from your background,
Yeah.
Indians, do they more of them do dancing than say people from Western cultures?
Yeah, is it quite
Doing
big?
ballet.
Is it a relatively bigger thing?
Is this something very important to the culture?
Like tea to the English.
I don't think so, no. No, it isn't.
So
Because like looking from a different perspective,
Yeah.
it looks very kind of
Yeah.
important to it.
it's
Like,
it's
I,
quite-
that's because I don't know much about.
You don't want to stereotype too
Yeah.
much, but when you think of India in your head, you kind of think of Indian dancing and Indian
Yeah.
clothing and stuff. Is that too much of a stereotype? Have you been to India?
Yeah.
Is like how much of it is very traditional and all these Indian cloths and all that sort of, is it quite Western? Largely, obviously it's a big place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't really say, to be honest. It depends where you are.
yeah. Is that something that's kind of fading? Or
No,
is it-
definitely
no?
not. Definitely not.
I think it's quite English culture as a pure thing, and I don't want to sound too UKIP here, but it's not. It's nowhere near as big a thing as it is in other countries.
No, it's not.
It's like,
Mm.
well, we got Morris dancing. Everyone thinks that's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody does think that's
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. And we'll probably get to politics later, but I don't know if it has a place or not.
Actually,
Yeah.
we'll go on to politics now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Indian politics? So take Modi for instance. Do you keep an eye on what's going on over there?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah. What's your perception of India as a whole? So taking into account all aspects of the culture and your
Yeah.
visit there, how would you describe it?
That's a very vague question.
Do you feel connected to it in any way?
Yeah. It's interesting because it's through my dance that I feel connected. So I've sort of gone there and having like performed and stuff. Whereas otherwise I would have just felt like a tourist, really, which is interesting.
Yeah. So at what point, like how long have you been, like your family been English?
When did my parents move here? Like 25 years ago?
Okay, so your parents were born in India.
In Sri Lanka.
In Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard to like say whether you kind of, I know, like, do you feel like you should have an affiliation with the country, or do you not feel like you need to?
Yeah,
Like,
I definitely do.
Yeah.
But,
Like my parents are from Liverpool, which is very similar. And maybe it's because I live in Manchester, but yeah, I want to rid that from my life as much as possible.
What, the Liverpoolian thing?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Couldn't be less ashamed of myself, to be quite honest.
I'm just ashamed to be English. Let's move on from that.
Is that just at this time?
Yeah. I think it's before that too.
You're studying civil engineering.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself, because India is a developing country, do you see yourself ever going after your degree to go kind of contribute in some way, help build the
yeah,
infrastructure?
I think like deep down that was one of the things that kind of made me choose civil, was kind of the ability to do that kind of thing and go out there and help people and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting in India. I don't know if they've made the same level of mistakes as China have with just like over-industrialising everything.
Yeah.
I don't know how they... Well, fossil, like, with the
Not yet.
pollution...
Pretty,
Yeah, with the pollution, China is just screwing everything up.
I think it's pretty... I think it's quite harsh to target just China with that. The
So-
United
well,
States
yeah,
are also
I mean,
atrocious.
I think-
Britain's atrocious.
Yeah.
I really don't. Yeah, that's just Western culture. It's like telling you learn Chinese.
Yeah.
Just to put another thing on
Yeah.
that.
What is
But,
your aspiration?
I'm really sorry. I think we made a terrible mistake here. Is your family Sri Lankan?
Yeah, but
Yeah, there you go. See.
But the dance is
Yeah,
Indian, so
yeah. Okay.
yeah, but there's a
Terrible
bit
mistake.
massive.
No,
Massive
I
crossover.
genuinely, I don't know why. I just thought if they're really good at Indian dancing, then I could be Indian.
They're very
I'm
similar
sorry.
places.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka's basically India, but not as many people.
So do you find the cultures do the cultures influence one another or
Yeah, definitely.
okay?
Yeah.
Are they? So you're saying are they quite pure, the cultures, or are they kind of influenced by Western ones again? Because I was saying that you're like in England where we don't really have a particular culture anymore.
Yeah.
Do you start to see? I think you could say within the context of dancing, are there kind of moves that didn't exist a while back that are kind of influenced by other forms of dance, or is it quite insular?
That'd be interesting.
It's interesting because I think the traditional form will always stay there,
Yeah.
and it will always there are dancers who will always stick to that. But there are some dancers who will always there are dancers who do that and contemporary, and they're mixing it up.
So contemporary being influenced by other dance forms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where do you lie? And
I think at the moment because I've just been learning from my teacher. That's all I've been doing. I haven't really done anything on my own yet. So I'm sort of still stuck in the traditional roots, but yeah, hopefully.
you want to move to more kind of
Maybe,
mixed,
yeah. I'm open to exploration.
Yeah.
We'll
Would
see
you ever
what
want to
happens.
choreograph? You said you couldn't do it now, but
I'd love to be able to, but yeah, I can't at the moment. I don't really know how to go about it.
yeah, that's something that just seems so alien from a perspective of someone who doesn't do it.
Mm.
So how do you start with that? Did you see someone go through the process of choreographing anything at any point?
Like my teacher, sort of, but yeah, that's just one person really. I haven't really.
Where did they start? Did they start from the start, and then what do you do next? What do you do next?
Yeah, I think it's that kind of thing, and obviously because you have set steps and things, they just kind of try things out, and it is just trial and error.
So is it quite modular then? If you have particular steps
exactly.
and styles, then you just stick things together and see what works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a standard length that you try?
No.
I've heard
It depends on the song. And
Yeah,
stuff.
I've heard before I've read in a couple of books that some of these dances can go on for days or last all night, 12 hours long. That's more of a religious thing.
Days.
I think.
Yeah, no.
Or as a performance.
Imagine trying to do that for days.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some dances that are like an hour long because you'll be telling a story, like a really elaborate story maybe.
Okay.
But some dances are only like 5 minutes. It varies depending on the music.
What about theatre in India? Is that tightly linked to the dance style? Or take Bollywood for instance, so you say cinema. Obviously that draws a lot, or owes a lot to Indian dance.
Yeah.
Do you think...
Is the dancing in Bollywood film quite traditional? Or is that modernised?
Yeah, is that
Yeah, it's
contemporary?
completely,
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think they westernise it at all in order to make it appeal to Western audiences, or
And to Indian audiences, that's what...
they're like that too?
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So what makes it... If you saw someone dancing across the street doing Indian dancing, what would make it traditional and what would make it not traditional? Are the movements more kind of extreme with traditional? Is it more kind of flowing? Because it's not necessarily that flowing always with.
Yeah, well, it depends what you're doing, really. What kind of if it was a rhythmic piece, then it would be that you're kind of sticking to the sort of the set movements and hand gestures and stuff that you have.
So you could spot a phony out there.
But yeah, that's the odd thing is that my teacher would say, oh, that dance is not good because she doesn't stick to the traditional roots or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird how it's sort of evolving and how some people aren't comfortable with it. It's odd.
Is there anything that's considered just flat out taboo in Indian dance?
Well, that's the thing. There's always going to be people who think something's wrong, even if I were to go out there, someone would say, "Oh, you're not doing this properly," and there will always be people like that. So I suppose.
So you've got kind of purists.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
Are you a progressive? Yeah. Actually, would you consider yourself a progressive dancer? Or would you say you're pushing the front in the contemporary side, or
No.
are you trying to preserve the culture quite conservative in it?
I think because I'm still I've just sort of built up my foundation really in dance. Like I haven't sort of got to that level yet where I can sort of experiment and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start doing that. That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you want to perform as? Where's the ideal place to perform your Indian dancing? Would it be in a cultural setting?
Yeah, interestingly, like I went to India and I performed in a temple and it was the most incredible experience because it was like in front of the deity. It was Lord Shiva and it was like I was performing a piece on him and it was just such a weird spiritual experience.
Yeah,
as
as someone who
really
didn't believe in it, did you feel like...
Yeah, it was really odd. Yeah.
Did you have to try and explain that to yourself afterwards?
Yeah, I can't explain it. It was so odd.
Yeah.
The feeling.
So it's like you could understand why people get that spiritual connection with things. Yeah. It's obviously like if you can approach it from a psychological point of view and just say like, oh, I'm getting it's kind of I'm constantly conditioning myself to kind of become emotionally attached to this dance because I'm surrounded by lots of people who are emotionally attached to it. Or maybe it's a real thing. I don't know. Are you quite open to that idea?
To the idea
would you consider you agnostic?
Yeah, you're agnostic or you're
atheist?
completely atheist,
yeah, I'm agnostic, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And has the dancing had an influence on that?
Yeah.
Agnostic in what way? As in, you're not interested in, or you're like, as in a god, you're not interested in thinking about those things, or because the definition is kind of blurry.
Yeah.
Okay, agnostic. There are two definitions. One is you don't really mind whether there's a god or not, or the other one's you think it's not knowable, or it's currently unknown. Anyway.
Yeah. Second.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to go back to Tom's question there, do you think it feeds into it? The dance, that is. Sorry.
Yeah, it's got to.
Yeah, like you said, you're at the temple. If you're in that sort of environment and you see all these people incredibly devoted to this god, this deity, then do you find it difficult not to think that there might be something to it?
I mean, our definition of that we're thinking of God is probably different to yours. Isn't it? So,
wait, this God is, I'm just saying, an omnipotent being, or even a deity.
We did one on religion.
Yeah, we did one on religion. We're not going to get into this now. Just to go back to what I said a moment ago. Do you find it difficult not to have some level of faith, or at least some skepticism about your own agnosticism, that there may be something to how devoted and committed they are to their religion?
No, because I don't think faith has ever really come into it. As long as you just kind of feel the energy and the emotion, I think that's what's important.
Is there a similar concept to chi then, for example, where you say there's like a vibrational energy to movement? And that sort of thing?
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Your mentor, do mentors talk about that sort of thing? Do they say like, okay, try and feel all the inner energy, and that, or is it like, do this move, then do that move? Smile at this point.
Well, they don't talk about it in terms of energy. They kind of just say, become the character, like just let yourself go, that kind of thing. And yeah.
Is it? Yeah, because I think there's a lot of Eastern culture, like dance moves and sports, where it's very much you have to subscribe to the kind of non-physical thought behind it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get stigmatized for not doing that, would you? If you kind of went in and said, okay, I don't believe in any of this, but I want to get involved in the dancing, would that be a problem?
Well, you just wouldn't connect with the dance in the same way.
Yeah.
So
they wouldn't be like, oh no, you won't be able to do it as well as we can.
Well, yeah, as in, you'd always be allowed to dance, obviously.
Yeah.
No one would stop you, but it just mean when you perform, people wouldn't connect with it as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you channel your characters? How do you get yourself into the mindset? Do you think about, okay, this girl's just been left by her husband.
Yeah.
Do you think, how would she be feeling? Her son's just died, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you go through that sort of thought process, or do you say, this is what the story is, I'm just going to go right out there and play one pure emotion, or do you make it a subtle, more complex thing?
It's interesting because I think it's definitely to do with the music and the lyrics as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's through the music that I kind of channel the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you spend quite a lot of time on that? Obviously, there's a technical aspect.
Yeah.
But do you spend an equal amount of time trying to perfect the character?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of acting in a way.
Yeah.
Have you ever
definitely.
considered doing straight acting as well?
No, I haven't. But
Yeah. I wonder if
that'll be-
Here's a suggestion.
Yeah.
I wonder if it is two separate skills. Does it kind of feel like two separate skills?
But the thing is, with acting, you have that interaction with other people on stage, and I'd feel like responsible if I don't know.
You said you've done
That
group
kind of
acting, group dancing before.
yeah.
Sorry.
Is that
So,
completely different?
wait, okay, let's move on to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this ties into acting again. When you're dancing with other people, are you more worried about your own performance or are you worried about theirs?
Depends who,
Okay.
but usually my own.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of faith. I mean, obviously you're very good, so I imagine the people you dance with are also very good.
Yeah.
So you just build up that mutual trust
Yeah.
when you dance with an expert.
Yeah.
But on the acting thing again, what happens when you have creative differences in how you want to interpret a piece? Obviously, there's, and I don't mean this in terms of how you choreograph it, but how you portray the characters.
Yeah.
So, for example, if someone wanted to set a very dark tone with the way they do it, do you have to compromise that, or do you play the like a slightly more a lighter character, for example?
Did you have conflict at any point?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think it's more with my teacher that I have that when she's trying to teach me a piece, and then it just kind of gets quite frustrating because she's trying to tell me one thing and I'm doing another thing, and
hmm
there are times when that happens.
Yeah. Is that because of the way that you're interpreting the piece, or is
Yeah,
it just
exactly.
That?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the worst point? Best and worst.
Wow.
It's always a good one. Was there any particular low point in the whole process, in the emotional roller coaster, so to speak? If we were on
What,
the
my entire dance
Cliche
career?
to cliche.
No, for the young dancer thing. Was there
Oh,
a
right,
particular
okay.
time where you just had like no confidence whatsoever in what you were doing?
Ooh. Probably before the DVD. Before I sent off the DVD, I genuinely didn't understand why I would consider it. I just thought I had no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from that point on, it was just a series of things getting
Just
better.
surprises, yeah.
Yeah.
One after the other. Like, what? No way. Yeah.
Was there anyone involved who didn't seem surprised at all and was like felt that they were just, of course, they were going to do that?
It seems like
There's always one
talk
person.
shit about some of the
Yeah.
characters.
No, I know. Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
it's got.
Well, this one girl's a total bitch.
Yeah.
No, I think Vidya who won, because she's actually worked for it. Like,
Yeah.
she has really
So she was
worked for it.
confident throughout that she was going to do well.
Tom.
What? No, that's not
Honestly.
a bad thing.
In a way, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a silly thing you do, though. I suppose you're going to be very confident about it. And it's some winning mindset thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? If you believe you're going to win,
Exactly,
you're
yeah.
more likely to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How driven were you to try and win? Was it like
Not
just like an
at
adventure?
all.
So it was like an adventure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you seem very happy, even when they announce the result. Like sometimes when you see on television people like having to fake it, but you're
Yeah,
genuinely
yeah.
pleased to be there
Yeah,
and
it was
like
great.
congratulating them, which is quite nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great fun.
Are they planning on doing subsequent series of it? Do you
I
know?
think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah. There's definitely space for it. I
Yeah.
think the X Factor's a bit tired.
And then there's
Yeah.
a throwback one where you come onto it.
Oh, yeah.
Past
That's-
competitor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when has the final been filmed yet?
It's tomorrow, live on telly.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen the other round, the other type of dance?
Yeah,
what
so
are the other categories?
ballet, hip hop, contemporary.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't see how you can compare
I know,
between
yeah.
those at all.
Right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think by the end of something like X Factor, you don't get a huge. Okay, there is a bit of variety, but you can at least compare people vaguely based on
Yeah.
the tonal quality of their voice and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I suppose you could do it on technical skill, but if you have something like hip hop, which is incredibly it's so open to interpretation,
Mm.
not quite sure how you would go about doing it, especially when some of the
I mean, there must be a lot of personal preference.
Yeah.
Is it only the judges who decide, or is it like X Factor where
No,
people
I think
vote?
it's just judges. Yeah.
And is the panel from all backgrounds, or are they
I
just
think they
experts
are.
in everything, or one thing?
I think they're from all backgrounds, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what it was with you?
Yeah,
It was
so
just
there's one
over-
guy who was over like all 4 categories, and
Mhm.
then 2 were just South Asian dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the guy who was from all backgrounds, was the feedback kind of more useful from the other people, or did he feel like he couldn't interpret it as well as everyone else? Was his feedback just more kind of subjective?
We didn't actually get to talk to him.
Really?
But
So you just walk out on stage there
Yeah.
again.
yeah, he vanished. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really answer that because I didn't talk to him.
Yeah. So when, like that's interesting that you don't get any sort of feedback on it.
Yeah.
You think you would?
I
Yeah.
think we should redo this whole thing, Tom. Rewrite the entire series. Next season, we'll be directing it. None of this. This is, again, an enormous tangent, but it just popped in my head. Do you have any role models? Are there any dancers you look up to in, like, Indian dancing or dancing as a whole? Or even not even dancing, so it could be like an engineer. Like, do you channel Nikola Tesla when you dance?
I don't really have. I don't know. No, I don't really have role models. If I'm honest.
Yeah. Are the
They just make me
famous
feel
Indian? Are
bad.
the really famous Indian dancers out there? Within.
Not globally. I can't think of anyone that you would know of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're loads famous in India, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there the equivalent of the Royal Ballet? Is there kind of an elite group that?
Yeah. There's a school that's like, for the top
Yeah.
dancers.
How do you get into that?
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea.
Yeah, plucked from your family one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Platform 9 3/4.
Yeah. If you got hypothetically, if you got signed up to that, would you go and leave everything behind and do dancing?
I don't think I would. No.
If you were told that you were the best in the world.
Well, then I'd just stick to dancing. Because
If
why
you're
are you
already
going
the
to a
best,
school?
why-
Yeah, you
exactly.
actually need to go and learn more.
That's quite remarkable, actually, to say that you would say no to such an offer like that. Why do you think that is?
I think I'd just get too carried away. Really.
Mm-hmm. You need to
In
have
that
that
world.
balance between
Yeah.
the two.
Yeah.
Can we talk a bit about the stories behind it? Like, I'm planning on reading the Bhagavad Gita
Oh, nice. Yeah.
after exams,
Yeah.
but I know nothing about it
Yeah.
apart from it's to do with war stories.
Yeah. It's so complicated.
Have
Yeah.
you performed any of the stories from the book?
No, because that one is quite intense. And
Right.
it's, it's
Intense in
wouldn't
what
be-
way? Intense,
it's
like
just-
physically intense, or?
no, just the story is it's purely just war and fightings. It would be a bit dull to watch, I think.
Right.
But-
So, like, what's kind of like? Are there any stories that are particularly interesting that you've?
I think the story of Rama and Sita is one that's quite commonly done, and it's quite nice to watch as well.
And what's that about?
So, Sita is. Oh, how does it start? I don't even remember how it starts. I have no idea how it starts.
You walk onto stage.
Yeah. Well, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea.
Can you start
But-
in media res then? Can you just go straight into the centre of the plot and
Yeah.
then continue from there?
Okay, so Sita gets abducted. Or maybe they're together to start off with. But that wouldn't make sense because they get married afterwards.
I'll Google it right now. what's her name? What?
Sita.
Rama and Sita.
Rama, Rama.
Yeah. I don't actually know the story. That's awful.
Is this one of your favourite ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have
I
to?
don't know
Revi-
the
so do
story.
you kind of have to revise for a dance?
Oh, that makes it sound so...
Yeah.
But no, I think just because every story is so intricate, like, there isn't like a... So the story of Rama and Sita would start from like when Rama was born to when he dies, and that's just kind of like an in-between bit of his life story kind of thing.
Oh right.
So there's no really start and end to each story, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So if you get told you're going to do a new dance, what do you get given? Do you get given a script of the story? So you have to learn the story.
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends. If there's lyrics, you just kind of you just go off the lyrics really, or just learn the choreography of whoever's dancing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you kind of learn the lyrics and the choreography as separate things, and then bring them together. So you need to know the story. Like you said, there's kind of two separate skills. So there's
Yeah.
the story and the dancing.
Yeah.
Do they ever get done completely separately from each other and then brought together, or is it kind of
Well, you have to start with the lyrics and the story, obviously, to
Mhm.
do the choreography. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the songs themselves are actually they're the stories. So
Sometimes,
sorry,
yeah.
So
They'll
they
be
have
telling
a
a story.
specific song that you play
Yeah.
for a specific story.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you find out the beginning of the story?
Yeah, it's to do with I'm gonna butcher the names, but Dashrath
Okay.
exiles
Yeah.
Rama, Sita, and Lakshman to make Bharat the successor,
Okay.
and then they go live in a forest. They live
Nice.
happily until
Oh yeah.
an evil god comes.
Okay, yeah, so they were together, but it doesn't. Yeah, so the story starts with them already together. I forgot that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens from there? Can you take it from there?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, we don't need every detail. Just like,
So Sita, it's quite interesting because there's Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana. Rama and Lakshmana, I think they're brothers. They're basically bros. And then King Ravana wants to abduct Sita. I think there's something going on between Rama and Ravana. He's a demon, and then he takes the form of a deer, and he comes into the forest where they've been exiled to, and then Sita's like, "Oh, look at that deer! You have to go get that deer." And then Rama goes to catch the deer, and then in that time, Ravana, he takes the form of I think it's an old woman or a beggar or something, and then he goes to Sita and asks for food or something, and then he goes into her house and then abducts Sita, and then they go to Sri Lanka, and there's a temple in Sri Lanka now where they say that's where Sita was, which is really cool. I definitely want to go there.
Yeah.
So Sita's in Sri Lanka, been abducted, and then Rama finds out, and then they build a sort of, what do they build? It's kind of a bridge, but not really, out of stone, to go from India to Sri Lanka, and then they go and bring her back, and then on the way back, that's where they say that's where Diwali came from, the kind of lights, and then everyone celebrated when
Are they
they
kind
got
of
back.
like fables in that they have kind of spiritual meanings about how you live your life, or are they?
I think, yeah.
So they're not just entertainment.
It seems to be a lot of like philosophy behind
Yeah.
the books.
Yeah. But I think some of them you definitely don't want to take away morals with you, because some of them are a bit weird.
Yeah. So they are just stories, some of them, without any. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think when people read the Bible or something.
Yeah.
You don't. Nothing's just like a good like story that you sit down and read with a cup of tea. It's
Yeah.
always supposed to teach you something.
Yeah. No, some of them are just stories. You definitely don't want to learn stuff from some of them.
can you think of any? There are definitely some.
Are there any ones that you relate to?
No, answer this one. We'll keep these two questions separate.
There are some there are some stories about Krishna, as quite what's the best way of putting this? A player, if I'm honest. Yeah.
So are they really old? They're really old stories.
Yeah. But they're just.
How old are the stories exactly? Well, not
Well,
exactly.
I guess it varies. I don't know on the text and stuff like that.
It was the morning of the 4th.
Yeah.
So do you know when this culture when it originated from? Is it?
I suppose in like temples, really, and then I suppose you can't really put a date. I don't know when they.
The morning of the 4th.
Yeah. Again, yeah.
Specific question.
Yeah.
So if you were to go into another if you had opportunity for another competition, like a worldwide one or something, would you go for that as well?
Yeah, having done this, definitely, yeah.
You try and take any opportunity you got.
Well, I didn't used to, but now I will.
Yeah. Do you think that's changed you?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
What's the difference in attitude that you have now? Are you more now just like go for it, whereas before you were like, I'm only okay?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. And I think because before I thought it was just a competition, I didn't kind of see it as a learning experience as well, which is definitely what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So you grew up in London, right? Yeah. I mean, it's more multicultural than Bristol.
Yeah.
Have you felt like a difference when you come here? Is there some sort of group in Bristol where you can practice together?
No, there isn't.
There's nothing at the
There's
university.
nothing,
No.
not even a society.
There's a
You just
Bollywood
start.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you not interested in the Bollywood one then, or is it
Not really.
Is that a bit cheap and tacky?
not too?
Yeah.
So harsh.
I'm fucking mean today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get? I imagine you do get a bit of snobbery, of it, like for the purists to get with like some of the more modern stuff.
Well, no, they're just
Is
very
it-
different. Like, it's not.
So it
But-
is treated as an equal thing amongst
Yeah,
people
they're
who
just
know what they're talking
different.
about.
Yeah. Because it's not like Bollywood dancers trying to be classical. They're just completely different things, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a form of dance that could quite easily be incorporated with? Is it similar to anything else?
It's interesting because there are dancers now, especially in London, who are sort of. I think contemporary works quite well because contemporary is kind of like you do what you want kind of thing. So that's quite easy to bring into any form of dance, really.
Hmm.
Is there any like like any dances where you just completely improvise on the spot on stage?
I haven't. No,
But
I'm
do they
nowhere
do
near.
that?
Yeah, people do
Yeah.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
must
crazy.
be crazy.
Yeah, no, I
So
don't.
they go on like, okay, I'm going to do some Indian dancing.
Do they just
Or-
pick a story out of like thin air, or is it completely like no? Is it just dancing?
It will usually be
Yeah.
like the song, like has a vague story behind it, and then
Right.
they'll just kind of
Right.
act it out and see.
Using
see what it
the, I'm going to say sign language, but not necessarily.
Yeah,
So they
kind
use
of.
the hand gesture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, so it is something you can kind of generate in real time.
yeah,
almost.
exactly. Yeah,
That probably connects to being able to choreograph your own stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's like the next stage after.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the ultimate story.
Yeah.
When you visited India,
Yeah.
did you find that there were street performers, who did Indian dancing? And did they do it in the same way that they might say do in England, where you have street dancers who do it in like, say, in a very hip hop style?
Yeah, no, there weren't. We didn't see any.
So where does it mainly exist? Is it within temples that you see it mostly?
Surprisingly not. It's just like people just like kids just learn it from teachers, and people don't really even do it at the temples anymore. Yeah, it's kind of gone out of the sort of temples, and now it's more on stage, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are shows of that in itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm. With a certain theme. So you'd say this is a whole story.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like a musical almost.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
You get
yeah,
acts.
yeah. So some people have done like the whole story of Ramayana, and that'll go on for like 3 hours, and they'll tell the whole story. Or some people might summarize it in 5 minutes, and do other pieces as well on different other gods and stuff like that. But yeah.
Mm. Got anything else?
Mm.
I don't want to do the
I think.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not really.
Last two questions then we ask all our guests
Cool.
is, I think Tom already mentioned to you,
Yeah.
but
warned you.
yeah, looking into the next 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
what are you most excited for? You know, personally, globally, you can answer whatever way.
I'll probably answer that personally. I'm most excited to keep dancing and hopefully someday to be able to look at something and say, look, I built that.
Is there a particular ambition you have? Is it skyscrapers or something?
Oh, I
Passive
don't know.
house,
We'll see how it
stuff
goes.
like that, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So you
No.
don't no specialism
No.
yet then.
Not yet.
Okay.
That'd
Then
be
we'll
cool.
move on to the pessimistic.
Yeah,
one,
on
I
the
guess.
flip side, what are you most worried about?
War.
That's pretty good.
Simple.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Is
Anything
that
in particular?
yeah?
No.
Just war in general.
Yeah.
What's your
World
this is-
War.
this is- what's your opinion on Trident? We're
Yeah, let actually
You
let's,
voted-
Yeah.
you
let's
voted
do
green.
this.
Yeah.
It's election day, well, day after.
Yeah.
Are you worried? What do you think of the election result? We'll start with that, I guess.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone was.
mostly.
I can't understand what it is behind the opinion polls that makes them so wrong.
Yeah.
I was trying to think about it.
I can't figure out how though they managed to get a majority. I don't
yeah.
understand that, because it was looking like they were gonna maybe be able to scrape a coalition,
Yeah.
and now they've grown on what they already had, which I don't know how they did
No
that.
idea.
There's the Lib Dem ones that they lost, wasn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, but you think what? Why would they switch to Conservative? Wouldn't they switch
Well,
to Green or
It's
Yeah.
like
UKIP?
I was usually saying this morning, wasn't it? It's all about self-interest, and when you're in the poll booth and you think about your taxes and you're thinking about, well, I would like this other stuff, and I guess you just go. Yeah, like I said, the Lib Dem ones just went to the Conservatives, and it's like I won't say his name, but our tutor was saying this morning that when you're in the polling booth and you're thinking about yourself, there's nobody else in that polling booth with you, there's nothing to tell you about the outside world. Are you really going to make that decision to, say, vote left when voting rights seems so much more immediate and gratifying? And I think that's the mindset. It's like when I was at student union last night, or you were there too, actually, and we bumped into this. Well, we didn't bump into him. He walked into us and started staring at us. But he was really, really drunk, and so we were sat there listening to the election results being read out on the radio, and he ended up. He was just stood there for quite a while, just staring.
He was like us. A typical, like, big plump guy with.
He was incredibly short. You didn't realise this. We were sat down, so we were sat down, and I was just like, okay,
a conservative accent as well.
And I stand up, and he is literally. He's a very short guy, but it was very interesting because he was incredibly drunk, and he initially started off by pretending to be liberal.
Yeah.
I don't know if he pretended.
I'm not going to be rude, but
I hate the effing Tories.
Yeah.
And then I didn't.
He was with us for like 2 hours, and then eventually he was like kind of creeping towards Tories until he was like, the Tories. Oh, we won majority for them.
And then he lied to me about going to private school.
Very strange.
Really strange guy. But I think. I don't know. What do you think of it?
The whole thing. Why did you vote for the Green Party? Like, see if it's.
I don't know.
Just make an assumption now, or do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I read all the manifestos beforehand, and they one made the most sense to me, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating when you hear people say that it's naive, because it's not a plan for majority government. It's more of
It's a long-term plan to save not only yourself but everyone around you, and to ensure that you aren't voting for yourself. You're voting for the country as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think personally that's what government should be about.
Yeah.
But it's not.
But it's actually, we're being too negative here. Come on, Green's got 26% of the vote.
Yeah, it was
in
still
Bristol West. I know it's a second.
Darren didn't get it.
You're talking about a 20% increase.
I know, but
which is awesome.
Yeah.
So kudos to Darren. He's a really good candidate. Hopefully he'll stand again.
In the next 5 years, he has nothing. He can't do anything at all.
He does good stuff.
He has his own social. Actually, we didn't mention this. But can we just get this out? He has his own social enterprise called Pale Blue. Sorry.
Oh, nice.
Put that in.
Advert.
Yeah, that was an advert there, but it's actually quite interesting. It's just going to totally tail off, and we won't take any more. So, thank you for joining us, Sivani.
Oh, no, thanks.
Thank you, and thanks for listening.